everyone. Hopefully you can hear me now. Welcome at our Czwartek for you, which is the first one after really long time and first time online. Our today guest is Roberto Carlos, who is a BIM coordinator at Hawkins Brown. Roberto graduated the architecture. He is the master in architecture, and he graduated with our guest. And Roberto, I'm giving now you the voice, so go ahead with your presentation.
Hi everyone, thanks to be there. I'm Roberto, and thanks Kosha for present too well. So I don't know how all the people in BIM. So my speaking today is just to talk about the BIM challenges and the normal pitfalls that happen in a company. I will like to start with, well, just picking my background here in London. And I started in Czwartek, that is a company which develop architects. And I had the opportunity to see many projects in BIM from different architects. So I think there was a big opportunity, and I extend my knowledge through the different big companies here in London. And I think that, well, I would like just to with this presentation, I would like to show you well to implement, how to implement with success BIM, and what things we have to avoid. So let's go into the first. Sorry, because I'm new in Zoom, so I try to do my best. So I will share my screen now. So let's see. Yeah, here. And now, yeah. Yeah. So, could you see the screen? I think that is fine. Yeah.
I can see.
Okay, perfect. So, what's BIM? Well, first day when I started using BIM, it was in the university, and the only thing that I heard from BIM is like, will simplify your life. So I remember in the university, people just very struggle with the deliveries because they need to change a section in CAD, and after they have to amend 20 drawings. So the first impression for me regarding BIM is like magic. Like you can do, you can press the magic button, and if you amend one section, the 3D model, it will do the job in the other drawings. So that's some of the buildings that I work here in UK. So I was involved in Liverpool Street, or in the Heathrow airport. That unlucky is stopped now. Some offices, high residential luxury layout, and offices in here in London as well, in Hammersmith. Well, let's see. It's going. So, how many of you remember the floppy disks? The floppy disk. I think that I remember just to play with games, and it was loading for hours, a game of 200 kilobytes. So now it happens something similar with the transition to BIM. So the digital services are making all our lives simple, faster, and more connected. So in most of cases, this manifests itself into our everyday activities becoming more efficient. Same paradigm is now beginning to visualize in the construction sector, where building information modeling, BIM, is helping our industry to be more innovative, so become more technology advanced and create and care for our build assets and infrastructure. With this presentation, I would like just to help anyone understand how BIM can help their business and projects. So as you see, BIM, building information model. So basically what things are produced, or there are people who just define as building information modeling, how the things are produced, or building information management, who, what, and when produce things. The way that BIM is taking all the information is basically with a 3D model, a non-graphical model through the schedules, and the documentations. So the graphical models develop it in specific BIM authority software using objects-based technology to simulate the real world. So if I just, it's different to the 2D software like AutoCAD, even Vectorworks, that you have the X and Y axis and the Z. So this is exactly the same. And the most important thing is the coordination space that you can link all the model from the collaborators. So in simple terms, BIM allow users to share projects and assets information by mapping that data onto 3D representation of building components that reside in the model. The government just create a roadmap where specify 3 levels. The most of us, we know the level 0, that is CAD, where we got basically the information on paper. The level 1 is a combination. We start to create in our server a specific folders where we save the schedules, Word, files, PowerPoint. But after the BIM level 2, start to appear standards just to unify how we share the information with engineers and architects. And the next step is the level 3, just to get an idea. Many of you are using now the Google Docs, where many of you can access to the same file in the cloud. So that's the concept that the BIM, or the goal of BIM, just to use the cloud and everyone store and work in the cloud. All the files, drawings, the model, but just I would like to highlight as when I was working in Heathrow Airport, obviously the server were hosted by Autodesk. Autodesk is a USA company. So the UK government just rejects the idea to store the files in a USA folder or in a USA cloud. So despite we are using a cloud, the government, depending on the project type, they are a bit concerned about which cloud and from which country is hosted? Well, the importance of relating BIM strategy to client strategy. The starting point for building information model management is the process of aligning your design technology strategy with not only for your goals, but also those of your clients. So that's many of you as well. So, for example, this picture where the customer explained to you how the project was documented, how the customer was built the project, and finally, what the customer really need. BIM is not only aligned with the client business priorities. The strategy for implementing it will become skewed towards improving internal and collaborative efficiency. Instead of maximizing its overall effectiveness on behalf of the client, instead, BIM strategy should, within the constraint of available time and resource, aim to maximize the value of the technology for both the client and the project team. We start the conceptual design. So we just I've tried to because BIM is the world's life cycle. So once we get the detailed design, we start to create the analysis, and we documented all the process. But after start the fabrication, for the manufacturers should be good from Revit or another BIM software. When I say BIM, is related to, could be ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, Revit. So it's not only one product, it's the way that the information is modeled. So many times, I don't remember the building, but in the Thames, there is a new building, I think that 2 years ago, very close to the Thames model, where the shape is very organic, is all glass. So every single window is bespoke, and only 2 companies in Europe, they provide, or they can achieve this kind of, let's say, accuracy to cut all or every little angle of those fascia or that fascia. So that's thanks to how the information is transferring from Revit to the fabrication. But after that, as an architect or engineer, the project could just continue in life through the construction, logistic, the operation and maintenance, and that's where start to be more efficient for the BIM product. So to facilitate the review of design option by automating the production of area data sheets from BIM, and thereby significantly reducing the requirement for manual data. For every pound spent in design, 20 pounds is spent during the construction, and 60 pounds is spent during its operational life. That means that the operator can potentially save more in operation to pay for better design and build process with BIM. So what's we call BIM bam boom is better design, better construction, and better operation. Paperless job sites are sometimes companies began implementing a few years ago. We are progressively moved towards in the use of mobile applications, multiple users accessing a database of information for quality control, verification of installations, and writing daily construction reports. You can go with your tablet and just download information in the cloud and see all the parameters of an item, of an object, because every asset information will be stored in one single file. For achieve that, we need just to, or let's say that one of the challenge when we are implementing BIM in a company is the information that the client provides to us. The way that the process is done is that the client need to provide us the employer's information requirement. That basically is what they expect from us or how we can deliver BIM to them. In that document is talking about which software we are using, well, the level of detail that we are providing, the roles and responsibilities. All this is our response to the client through a document that it called the BIM execution plan. That sounds very beautiful, but the expectation and the reality is totally different, because so many companies are pitfall in a way that they don't invest enough to implement BIM. I had the example of a company which I was working, that they produce a very detailed model in a luxury residential, but at the end they lose money because they didn't implement BIM without any expert. I mean, to implement BIM, we need a person who just support us in every step of the roadmap. For the implementation of BIM to deliver measurable success, there is a considerable evidence that take the innovation pushed together with the technology to facilitate the following kind of beneficial change. So once we got BIM, we need just to consider where we are, which employees, or the skills that our staff has. If we got a good IT, there are so many things that are totally different than the way of we thought before. So in CAD, that's a lovely neighborhood where people just think about working separately. But now in BIM appear more interaction between people. So it's more easy to find someone who just like saying, who delete the floor, or who has this item borrowed, because the way that you work with BIM is like you have a main house where you pick objects, for example, the window, the door, and you will be the borrower of that item. And all the time it's working like, it's like a teamwork. So all the time, every little item of the BIM model is connected. So that's what I explained before about the BIM levels, but I just add this because I wanted to highlight the BIM level 3 because it's interesting how now appear the augmented reality and the elements that we can use through the use of glasses. I mean, you can use the technology to show the client, not in a like a model maker. Probably we don't need them because everything will be visible in a way that is nearly like a real. So that's one of the building Astley Square, where we produce such a detailed model. And to get success, we had to organize all the documentation and provide the team all the tools that they need. Because if not, it's like driving. I put the example like driving with a Ferrari in a village. So you need to have, if you have the right tools, you need to drive in the right road and with the high, let's say, according to standards, according to best practices. So that's an example of how a project could be break down in different models, and that's giving you an idea of how things are connected to each other. So here basically the way that we need to care in the naming convention, the sheet naming convention, where that's like in CAD, but in BIM, there are more standards that we have to follow. And basically it's because we need to collaborate with engineers. And that's very standardized method of producing the information. One of the challenge of BIM is that in CAD, we have such a big library that we can adopt families from everywhere. But in BIM, it's something different. Like every company is like starting from scratch the library, and that's a big challenge for many companies because people are still using or adopting BIM strategies for the company. That's some the questionnaire that where you see that is your company doing enough to implement BIM? Well, as you see, 40% no. Are you providing your BIM skills on each project? Well, people don't really know. Is your organization improving their BIM skills overall? Yes. It's more common that people of the companies are investing money with, for example, this design technology teams where they provide solution for all the company with BIM and for BIM. Is the BIM implementation going in the right direction? Yeah, definitely people agree that that's the present and the future. And should your organization be more strategic about BIM across the office? Yes, that's definitely another topic in each company that I was working in. And that's like, well, the lie itself, because in the very beginning, all companies are just experienced or has the experience of having this curve, because obviously it's a slow process where you need to adapt from partners to associates and all the stuff in the company. But once you get all the information in your head, you will consider improve the way of communication and modeling the project in or delivering the project. So again, that's our expectation before adopting BIM, and this is really how BIM is in the early stages in a company. What happened with BIM? There are too many applications that now have BIM to improve and to rise up in all sense. So the technology is one of the most relevant, yet also the most transient aspect of BIM. The constant upgrading of software application has an immediate impact of progress and information integrating, often with far-reaching ramifications. By looking beyond short-term trends and innovations, thought this chapter effectively offers joined up insight into the management of ongoing development in BIM technology. During the different stages, probably in CAD, we will use a few of them, but in BIM, start to interact with multiple software. In the design or in the concept, here is very often to find people to use tools for analysis, SketchUp, Grasshopper, Rhinoceros, and in the definition is transferring the information for Dynamo, Bentley, Revit, ArchiCAD, and in the design, we are playing more with Excel, 3D Max, Solid, Navisworks, and so on till the end. So BIM, let's say that provides solution for connect to every single of those applications where make stronger and improve the quality of the construction. One of the tools is the scan, the possibility to scan your room, for just highlight an example, with your phone or with a laser scan, and in BIM you can recreate all in the model, or even with the parametric tools where with simple dots you can create a stadium roof or very complex shape with a few steps. We can achieve as well with the data management. We can create such a, in my opinion, such a constrained building, but could provide you a quick solution for planning, for concept stages, give to the client quite a quick visibility of what they want to achieve. That's the complexity of the automatization of the new era of the, let's say, the automatization tools, where simple numbers are combining them and giving you the best answer for the client. So we got several options where we can discuss again with the client, and in a few minutes we can get like 20-25 results per sex. But it's true that all this has a long process, but in the long term it will be worth it, and more when you establish your own way for, or you establish your workflow for other projects. Regarding the visualization, it's more often that BIM contains third-party plugins where you can visualize in real time. At the same time, your client can see in the house with a mobile. The analysis, the software analysis are improving as well a lot in BIM, where you can immediately know the impact of the lighting in your building. The augmented reality, that's we had in the consultation period in Heathrow project. It was very cool because people just get an immediate idea of the overall project. So I remember in the exhibition that it was in Excel building, it was too many people just saying, "Oh, that's I think that should be the way that people need just to present the buildings." And well, I can be disagree because before to be an architect, I was a model maker, and I think that till our kids are not growing up, we still need the physical model, but probably our kids, when they are growing up, they just, well, for them will be enough just to see in a virtual reality the objects. And the last is just the fabrication. It's possible to create bridges, complex facade with robotics, and all this information is through the asset information that we transfer from BIM to our machines. So I think that's again, it has a good expectation, but the reality is that all this software in the very beginning is such a pain because like all the new things, people need to dedicate time for training and for research all the tools before applying in a company. The other challenge is the collaboration between consultants, because we are not working. We are working in a way that we are interacting with our model, the architectural model, and we are interacting with the structural model, the MEP model. So all this, once we just get the stage 4 finished, the site manager, the project manager will start to play with our model, let's say, and all this is like a cycle, like the never-ending story. Even when it's finished the building, the file again is stored, and we will have all the information in one single file. So we manage all the information through what we call common data environment, and basically are 3 spaces or 4 spaces where we work in progress. And let's say that we start to create our documentation, the schedules, and the model, and we share in a space for MEP and structural guys. So once it's approved, the information could be published, and it will be jumped in another data environment that it calls published documentation. If it's rejected, it will be going back again, and the file will be not stored in the share. So this process is just to make sure that the delivery process is going according to the standards and to be efficient in the team. So when we publish the documentation at end of stage, we can archive in the stage 3 folder, for example, a stage 4 in the stage 4 folder. And after that, it can be accessible for each stakeholder of the project. When we are doing the drawings, we have to make sure that we will provide the information required, because we cannot over detail and we cannot under detail, because obviously as much information you give or you provide could be in fact a way that to improve the quality of the building. Less questions you will request from the builders or the contractors. And this is an example that the project that I'm working on, and that's near Clapham Junction, and that's B&Q and home base, and there are 18 buildings. Coordinate them is a big challenge, because we are working with Rambo and Hurley as consultants, and now we are providing a new tool that is giving us or is improving our way to communicate and reduce the email. So as you see here, we've got the 3 models: structural, mechanical, and architectural. And just an example is how we use a software that is reading the BIM information modeling. And from here, we are doing the class detections and provide to another software that it make easier the way that we communicate. And the first question that you can have is, why we are using so many software? Of course, because that's something, BIM is something relatively new, and each software is implementing others. So I assume that in next year, probably this software will supersede this one. But Navisworks now is providing us not only clashing detection, if not, is managing the cost of the building and the timeline production. So we'll see that a few in a sec. So that's Revisto. So the way that we communicate is just live. So I just add a stamp, and I can tell the engineer, please look at this. And at the same time, he's receiving the information and he can. So all this is ISO tracking that will be stored in the cloud. So we will get rid of thousands of emails, and it will be through the filters very quick to spot the issue was assigned to who, the priority. It will be just highlighted when it's achieved or if it's in progress, and that's for the coordination is a very, very fantastic tool. As I said before, Navisworks, something that Revisto doesn't have the tool of scheduling the construction. So Navisworks can provide just schedules, line of balance techniques, and very useful and powerful tools just to get your construction has success. And that's before the construction, but during the construction, there are tools that where you can have your 3D model and you can compare in the stage you are and what's coming next, and you can identify problems before they happen. And regarding collaboration, again, that's the expectation, to have nice, no clashing detection between the elements. But the reality is that it's a big challenge to get everything nice, because that should be accordingly the skills and the tools that the company has. So the search of BIM excellence, what we need to get success, what we need to get those, the challenge of implement BIM in our offices will be less care than the image. So this is a diagram where you can see the first time how long it takes in comparison with our CAD tools. But once we get the maturity level to provide our BIM model, it will be saved nearly 35 in the second project. Probably you will see the 35% of benefits. And through the work stages, is in some projects, like in planning, the master plans, BIM is still, in my opinion, still need to improve. But I think that in the other project types is the best solution. I mean, you have Vectorworks, ArchiCAD, and Revit, and there is not a tool that you can say, okay, that's the best, because normally the tools are moving by the market, and we are in an USA market, and USA is more Autodesk. Probably if you work in project with in Germany, you will move more, or you will use more ArchiCAD or Vectorworks. They are not big difference in price, but well, all this is just to improve with the client and to get benefits. So from our side, it will be better outcomes through the collaborations and enhance performance, optimize solutions, greater predictability, faster project delivery, and reduce safety risk. That's important. Well, reduce the waste. And for the client, it's nearly the same. So both, we got I think that we got no reason to don't adopt BIM, but just considering all the challenges that means to adopt BIM in our companies. So now I'm just open to some questions. I'm very happy to answer you all the concerns about what BIM means in our life. What do you think about the presentation? What do you think about BIM?
Thank you, Roberto, for presentation. It was super interesting. Now it's time for our questions. I saw on the chat that we have 2 questions from Artur. If you don't mind, we start with them. So the first question is, where do you store all files relevant to BIM projects? Do you use cloud services, for example, from Autodesk, or do you have your own servers where you store them?
Yeah, that's basically a decision from the client. Normally, every company needs to store, due to security reasons, every single file and every single document emails that are coming in or out regarding BIM. After the client, and depends of the stage as well, or when the contractor came on board, that could be stored in several places, and that's so annoying. For example, in the case of the airport in Heathrow, they decided to store in the cloud, because the possibility to work in different countries, the team, because Grimshaw, it has different offices across the world. So if you want to create a multitask, multi-teams, where in China more specialized in the tender stage, it's better to host in a cloud. After you have SharePoint, new format, so more, let's say, local server, not local servers, but let's say small servers where you can store the info. But again, that's a client decision where they need, with the contractor on board, to decide which one is the best, because in different stages, you can store the information in different places. But it's important that in your company, the ISO said that you have to create your common data environment. So I think that well, yeah, basically you have 4 main folders. That is work in progress, you have share folder, publish, and share. So your model, it will be just passing through each stage, and in the server, you will have your central model. That means that your model for the structural engineer is not relevant, the drawings. They want to see only the 3D model. So in the central, on the server where they decided to host the model, it will be only the information of the model itself. Later on, when the project manager came on board, they are asking you for a federated model. That's another story. That means that in the federated model, you will get the 3 models in one. And that's for them just to go through the clashing detections, because it will be save money for the contractor if you will avoid any classes during the process of the construction. So it's a bit crazy, but I need to store 3 different files. And that's one of the other challenge, the collaborating, because you need to manage and you need to upload, download, and publish and store in the right place. And you have to be very well organized just to achieve the common data environment with success.
Okay, thank you. There is one more question here in chat. Actually, appeared one more. How do you share your data files with your contractors, subcontractors, or other architects, etc.?
Yeah, that's a good question, because there is one type of file that it calls IFC, Industry Foundry Construction, and what that file store is the faces of the elements and the main info of that element. So let's say that I will save my file, I will save the federated model, which contain the architectural and the mechanical and the structural files in one. So when I transfer one single file with that extension, that the IFC, other products or other software will be possible to read all the information because how they call free software, where it's not they don't have rights of I mean, it's not like Acrobat, it's a free source, so you can transfer that file to multiple. It's like SketchUp. SketchUp is from Google, and to just the best way to improve a software is when you make it, let's say, free, because when Autodesk tried to dominate the market with all the different products, when you have a model and next year Autodesk release another version of the product, it's such a pain to update the model, because every year you have to update the model. You can store like CAD, your CAD file, maybe you can read from 2019, you can read a file from 2013. And in Revit it's a bit different. So the way to get free of that constraint of having the same version to open the model. So for example, if you are working in 2018, I have to work in the same version, because never I can go back to a previous version. And that's the reason why it's answering your question, that the way to transfer data between different software is through the IFC extension, that is Industry Foundry Construction, that is a general let's say like the general pill for all the software. So I here read another one, that how do you make different software talk to each other? Is import export of data problem? Yeah, I think that I answered that question. And is exporting the data with that file IFC, where you export schedules, and when you export simple models, that's the case that when I think that I will try to do an example, and I will try to share my let's say, yes, I will try to share and show you. So I will share here, and you can let me know if you can see now this. You can see the building?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Okay. So in this example, I got here all the buildings, and I can manage and just going quick to spot all the elements clashing each other. And if I go to an element, as you see, this file contains basic surface, and if I click one element, we will see the information of that element. So let's pick this, for example. No, sorry, types. So we got this element here, and if I click here,
It's like a fan.
Yes, but here, well, let's hold on a sec, because from here and to see the element, I'm just wondering, where is the information here? Well, the documentation should be not doc. Oh, I think that it was, well, that's such a pain, because they were showing, this is a product that we are implementing now, that is Revizzo. So basically I've got from my Revit, I upload here the information. I tried to get the information of that element, and from some reason I didn't achieve to say it. So if I just press the element here in the new version, will be provide every element of every single parameter that this element contain. I mean, will tell me who is the manufacturer, the telephone number, the dimensions, and the height of regarding the finished floor level. You have everything about this element, but I think that in this version that's the 0.45, and this version it doesn't allow yet to all this information. But for example, let's do with I will come back to my presentation and I will present Revit. So now again we see our model, and I will show you, for example, in 3D element. I'm opening now the 3D element, and I will click on an element, and you will see all the information that element has. And that's what we are, when we are exporting that element, that tool that you want to export, it will be provide that information. So for example, here, I'm going to the floor, and I've got here the floor in which base level, the thickness, the volume, the area, and more. And I can add multiple parameters, the heat transfer, the thermal resistance, the thermal mass, all this information, and all that I want to add, it will be exported with a file. And that's that's the potential of BIM, because it's not modeling, it's exporting all the information. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, as it happened, I created a number of questions which by strange coincidence went to Artur rather to you or to Gosia, who is the leader of this meeting. My question, I would probably limit only to one. Do you have any experience in retrospective BIM, i.e. When you have a structure already existing and you are trying to create a retrospective BIM for the structure, including all the systems which are installed in the building in order to facilitate future management of the assets associated with this particular building? Do you have an experience?
When you mean retrospective, I can think in the, for example, now we are developing the Waltham Forest Town Hall. That's an existing building. We got all the structure, and we've got, that's, I don't remember now the name, but that's a protective building. So what we had to do in that building is first scan. So Hawkins Brown contract, or they provide to us all the information in the cloud. So we got all the elements already placed. So for us, I don't know if he's answering your question, but
no, the question, my name is Andrzej Formaniak.
Yeah.
Actually, we are in our association are involved in creating a BIM for building in which our association has an office.
Yep.
So we started with the Revit structure, trying to reconstruct or redo the structure of the building. And now I believe that my colleagues are trying to install all systems.
Yep.
But it is pretty difficult. And there is a combination of, how to say, scanning, as you probably said. Yes, exactly the same. As well as trying to redo the structure of the building.
Yeah.
As a future, I believe that the management of the building is not very much interested in the structure itself, which is probably designed for, say, 100 years, but very much in the infrastructure installed in this particular building. Therefore, that's the question.
Yeah, and I think that there is another question in that question, because the Revit structure is not doing all the job for structure analysis, because normally what the companies are doing is just transferring the information to robot analysis, which is more for calculated structures. I mean, what I've done in the past is creating the structure in Revit.
Yeah.
If it's done, or if the structure exists, or if it's a new construction. And
it is in our case. Sorry, Roberto. In our case, what we did using 2D drawings, or CAD drawings, and using some sort of vertical, i.e., 3D relation between them from scanning, we recreated a 3D model of the structure without calculating a structure as such, because we don't need to calculate. What we are really interested is now to put into this particular building systems which are there, like water, electricity, sanitation, whatever you want, heating. And that's my question is, do you have yourself experience in doing this retrospective BIM? Because it's retrospective BIM, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yes, because obviously every time that you receive a project from another architect or another from another architect, you need to sometimes to redo all the items, because as you said, they provide you the 2D CAD, or because they provide you a cloud model, or because simple the model is horrible, so you need to redo. And regarding the specific structural models, what we are doing in the architectural point of view is remodel all, and just as structural engineers, they will transfer with this file IFC just to calculate with more complexity, because Revit, at the moment that I know, Revit can provide you, like, for example, when I just was in the Arup building, in the Arup offices, they told me that Revit is not enough. It's like using in a concept stage, because after they need just to use a complex analysis to the structure. So they transfer the Revit structure to robot analysis, where they can start to use more complex analysis, like for the air take, for the wind, for so basically structure. What it's doing is provide you the loads in the structure, and you have like simple calculation. You can have the idea, but you don't have the complete analysis of complex building. You can do for yourself. You can schedule. You can count every steel you need, but from the architectural point of view,
I understand. Roberto, I'm going to procrastinate because I think my colleagues also will have a question for you. Just final one. When Revit is not so good, as you said, what software is good or the best?
Well, I think that if you ask me about other platforms like ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, or Revit is the one that has more compatibility with other software. For example, in the concept stage, people here are using Rhinoceros, and from structural engineers and architects. Why? Because architects like Zaha Foster, when they model their parametric buildings, they can transfer to robot analysis very quick. And robot analysis has a high compatibility with Revit. So
Revit is not as bad.
No, but that's because they are investing a lot of money. But what is the problem of Autodesk? That they want to control the customers.
Those Americans are nasty people, I can tell you. I am in Boston, so I can assure you. They are very nice, but you know, they are trying to rule the world.
Yeah,
we have another nation which also tries to rule the world, but they collapsed recently.
Yeah, and if you notice that the example that I gave before, when we tried to host the Heathrow project in a USA server, the UK government say no.
Yes, because we are cousins, that's why.
Yeah, that's sensitive information.
Family doesn't like each other.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
sorry.
I strongly recommend you to use the Autodesk software, because it's the one that here in UK and the client are requesting.
Good.
So probably if you have a project in Dubai as well, and if you have a project in Germany, probably you can find another kind of software. But
Germans, yes.
All they have the same basis. BIM has the same basis.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are welcome.
Okay, thank you, Andrzej. We have as well a few other questions. There is one from Arek. The question is, how the development of BIM and technology impacts the existing job, and if there is a risk that some roles will be replaced with the technology?
Yes. And this is more common in all fields for engineers and architects. So a quick comparison, guy, let's say engineer or architect who know programmation, it will be the equivalent of 3 architects or 3 engineers. Why? Because the information now is transferring to data, and the data is managing through parameters. When I was working in Grimshaw, the roof of the Heathrow airport, or one of the terminal, the way that they develop is through a few points. So the guy who knows programming in Python, with a few sentences, he created all the envelope of the roof. And for me, it was like, whoa, I probably draw that in 5 seconds in a paper. But after is how we transfer the information for the consultant and engineers. I mean, the engineer need to receive the model in 3D, and after translate the information and do the calculation. In your case, Andrew, with structural software, because you need to achieve that the model is capable for people who manage that data, and that's the reason why it's more common in practices to have a specific design technology team where it's a mix between architects, programmers, and engineers. And obviously, IT is fundamental for have all these resources on the better way, because if you don't have a good IT, thousands of problems can appear and it will be collapse the office, because managing such a big information of data is requiring not the best technology that you can have in your office, but you need a good network, good machines, and as you questioned it, that the impact in the jobs. I think that is like the architects are more involved in as a programmers. But after it's splitting, I mean, when people told me, "Oh, you are BIM or you are architect?" No, I'm architect, and with a background in structural and construction system. But here in UK, is a very specific role. So you are the BIM guy, and not necessarily you have to know the regulation. That's what I think that the new roles will appear, because when the technology it's growing itself, the new roles need to be appear. And in my point of view, in the project that I show are 18 buildings, so they need a specific guy to solve all the problems and to support the team. I'm not an architect, but I know the regulations and I know how to build even better than architects that are in my team. But I need to focus, and that's the path that you need to have, because it's so difficult to have a wide range of roles. So if you start to create your own practice, you can manage yourself being an engineer, the BIM guy. But when the project increases size and the people, you need to delegate and create these specific roles. And well, I hope that you decide to be more diverted in the programming stuff, because in my point of view, the question is which kind of project you want to deliver. Because if it's a small, medium scale, even the parameterization or the automatization, it will be helpful. But we are not in such a complex organic building like Foster or Zaha again. So I think that the best way, and Andrew will be agree with me, that the structural is much orthogonal, much easier, and much stability and less problems create in all the structure. But that's what the new roles are helping to create such a big complexity in the buildings. The guy from or the husband, or the husband, no, the partner of the main partner in Zaha, he has a background of programmer. I mean, he just wrote a lot of literature about how the parametrics will be inserted in urbanism and architecture. But do we need to create that type of architecture? I don't know. I will say a city in Poland, in Kielce, in Krakow, probably not. But in Warsaw, when you have the shopping mall, well, you can see that roof that probably one smart guy, it will be useful to develop only 2 people, but with normal people, probably this such a complex surface, it needs like 4 or 5 when one smart guy could do that job. So I think that well, I think that Casper has another question. Do you have feeling that same time you are waiting all day for the model to load? Yes, yes, and that's a problem. That's a problem to apply bad practices. I was in a company which the company lose money with a project where a model, only one model, the file size was 1 giga to 1 giga.2 megas. So you can open in the morning the model, you go for the coffee, talk, and even when you back, still is loading. So that's a problem for the company, because it's time that you are paying for the people, and it's time that the people are doing nothing, checking emails. But that's important, that specific roles in a company, because it needs a BIM coordinator, a BIM manager who care all the models in the office, because 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day, and if you have in the team 12 people, if you can't count by a week, is the salary maybe of, I don't know, the people are not producing enough. And that's a problem, that's a critical problem for adopting bad practices in BIM. So you have to care the warnings, you have to care about modeling in the best way. Is the same like in CAD. I try to talk in CAD because I assume that the most of you has have a basis in CAD. But it's like, if you are not well organized with the CAD layers, it's impossible to get success in a big project. So you need to get standards first. And after that, you need to have a good structure in your folders, because if not, you will have a copy. The file should be, this is the copy one, this is the copy one, and this is, so all this is the same when you are modeling. And the way of modeling is the way that you build. So you have to think before modeling where it join the slab with the wall, how, in which layer we penetrate the structural slab, when stops the finished floor layer. All this should be according the way you are drawing. So, and Marian Sastavni said, another from me, are there any open source BIM solutions? Yes, but it's so basic that it's not worth it. I mean, there BIM started. There is a groupation. There is an aggregation. I don't remember now the name, but it's just defending the open source BIM. And you have a very simple tools, and you can create, for example, adaptive components. Why is not such a, because it's the same. If you know about 3D modeling, it exists a product from Autodesk that it calls 3D Max. And there is open source, another one that is Blender. So in Blender, in the very beginning, you can't do nothing with that. But according people are getting access to that software, are implementing more and more and more. So it's not the way that BIM or that open source BIM has success yet, because I think that even the companies, they prefer security in the, or safety in the way that you are providing the project. So it's very sensitive the way that you can implement BIM in a project that could cost a lot. So let's say that you want to build your own house. Yes, exists an open source that you can use for your own, but you can expect to do, obviously it will be better than drawing in CAD. That's for sure. So, well,
any more questions?
I have one observation rather than a question. Would you agree, Robert, that very soon people who have this knowledge as you have will keep at ransom companies and dictating money they only require for carry on with the job?
Indeed, the
Exactly.
best, yes, the best guys that I met in the offices, they decided to provide solution for the company, but getting money, because
Of course.
Because there is a high competence now, because it's more often to find people who create third parties applications. But what happened? That's the reason why people are adopting in the offices a design team technology, because it's a compendium of people who create. I will share again my screen, and I will show you the example with the application that we got for Hawkins Brown. I got here.
This situation could be an obstacle in progress being made by BIM, because the managers, the senior managers, have no feeling and no control of you experts, and they may say, "Oh no, 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 we are not going to be in the position that we cannot control them."
Yeah, but I mean, that could happen, but in my point of view, thanks to that people are improving the BIM, because if you going through the Autodesk request for the implement things in the software, they ask in 2013 when it's possible to create a travel path item that you can make very quick in your file drawings your line, and at the same time that you are drawing a line, appear the distance. And that's something very easy from a programmer side. So what happened is that some guys, they create an application, a very quick application, and start to sell for free, let's say. So in the very beginning, what Autodesk done with this kind of little application is just buying it and adopting. But when they are interested to adopt, but now there are more and more people who are doing third-party applications for BIM. So in my point of view, Autodesk is so lazy that he has no choice now to. That's the way that I think that the open source should always be a preference in the software, And Autodesk or Revit, it has a core, the API, it has an inaccessible area for the programmers. So it's a hard core that you cannot amend nothing from there. And there are so many people who have those companies that they are requesting to Autodesk to change the rules and make accessible, because it's like the pharmaceutics that sometimes when you are a copyright, you are not allowing others to improve
the product. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will show you now. I could share my screen and share Revit. Got what is called Revit? I think that should be here. So I'm again in Revit. So I've got those are the applications that Hawkins Brown developed by themselves. They are, for example, this is very useful where you can create an audit report and you will have a file where you quickly spot the model health of the project. So, or for example, the Revit warnings, you can quickly see
Collisions.
how many, and this is very cool. And it was developed by a guy who know a lot of Excel and Python, and is architect.
Great.
But what happened if we got only a programmer for us? It could happen this, because this is a company who start to provide free tools. And I've got here that could sound familiar, because when you wanna create sheets in a very easy way, you have to click on one and populate one by one. But this is so smart that you can select all the sheets with the prefix and suffix. And this is for free. But the company, this company, it has another one that is doing the same job, but they are paying for that. So at the moment, the company, it has the decision to get rid of, to pay those guys and get this for free. But what happened? That's the tricky way. It's like, in my opinion, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is for free.
Sure.
And now nearly 3,000 million of people over the world using WhatsApp. What happened if they decide to use, or just that the customer pay £1? They will be multimillionaires. So I think that that's the way that the companies are just
crazy word, Robert. I'm
yes.
not sure where we are heading to.
Well, I think that I don't know if you have any question. I think that I hope you enjoy.
We did.
The presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are hungry for more information, of course, because it's on the presentation, but actually you provided excellent things.
Perfect.
We are overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed with your knowledge.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I think that you got my, well, I don't know if this presentation was saved, but I will just give the presentation to Gosha, and after she can just happy to
distribute. Yeah.
To distribute. And if you have any questions, just you know where you can find me.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you, Roberto. The presentation was very interesting. I would like to say to everyone that Roberto speaks Polish as well.
That
nie,
was Robert, no, dlaczego nie mówisz po polsku? Dlaczego nie mówisz?
Ale mój po polsku nie jest dla ten typowej prezentacji. Nie.
Rozumiem, że tylko z twoją girlfriend rozmawiasz po polsku.
Tak, moja żona.
No właśnie.
Tak.
Dobry początek.
Ten jest mój malutki.
Oh, good.
Tak.
Super.
Go,
Dobra,
Robert.
dziękujemy bardzo.
My też. We should clap probably. There is the opportunity reactions. Clap, clap, clap.
Yes, thank you, Roberto. I have one announcement, actually two. On August, we won't have any Czwartek for you. We have our, let's say, typical holiday break. But in September, we're back. We will have, I think we will continue online meetings. So everyone is welcome. And next Czwartek for you will be on 17th September.
Thank you, Małgosia.
And yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you, Roberto, that you as well made the presentation. It was super interesting. And yeah, if anyone have any questions or I don't know, would like to speak about anything, yes, feel free.
Thank you for organizing this. Thank you very much. Dziękujemy bardzo.
Stefan shares mówić coś, but it's silence.
Silence. Put on mute. Unmute this.
Yeah, I was just saying sorry for being late and I missed the presentation, but it seems like I'm gonna join you next time and find out what it was about. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So yeah, nice seeing you people, and I hope to get on time next Thursday or whatever it's gonna be.
It will be in the September 17th.
Okay.
And I think I need to double check, but I think that this presentation is recorded. So if it is, it will appear.
I'll find it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so if it will be, I think it will be appear on our website, on Facebook. I need to double check this, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, dziękujemy bardzo i miłego dobranoc, bo ja jest z nocy.
Dobranoc, dobranoc.
Dobranoc, dobranoc. Dziękujemy ci bardzo.
Nie ma czasu. Pa, pa.
Cześć. Pa.
Dobranoc wszystkim.
Do widzenia, dobranoc.
Dobranoc.